diagram. You ought to be able to draw a diagram of how your business works, regardless of how simple or complicated it is. It helps somebody else understand how you make money and how you get customers and that kind of stuff. So, okay. This is kind of one of those academic things here, I call them. It's kind of fuzzy, but once you start working with it, you'll figure it out. Now, having a business plan very specifically defines your company's strategies, objectives, goals, financial forecasts. So you kind of take your business model, that kind of two-page thing that you're, it's kind of a conceptual thing, and say, okay, so, now I got to do my research and, exactly how big is my market. The business plan has those numbers in there. I think, there's 1 million people that I could potentially do business with. 200,000 are in my area, and I think 100,000 of them have the financial resources to do business with me. Okay, so you're getting down to more specifics. You also hear me say, what pain are you addressing? Why would somebody part with that $10, okay, of your money? Now, your people actually do have pain, but that's a whole other subject. A massage therapist. But I'm talking about, why would I give up my money? What am I satisfying? You also like to see in your business plan just write out something, what motivated you to start your business. That's always a good idea, a good story. What does your market look like? Okay, again, how big is it? How many people are in it? How will you sell your product or service? What's your marketing strategy? You're going to advertise? Is it direct sales? Again, is it internet? Whatever it might be. How will you produce and support whatever you're doing? That's the one most of them miss. It's like, I got this great idea, got this great product, here's how I'm going to sell it, here's what market I'm going to sell it into. Well, how are you going to produce it? How are you going to service it after you, sell it? People go, I never thought of that yet. That's very important. How are you going to fund your business? You have to have a financial strategy. Projected financial statements, your cash flow, what you think your money's going to look like, how it's going to come in, how it's going to go out. That's going to tell you whether you need a loan or an investment, or you can do it on your own. You have to have that done. How will you run your business? Am I going to run it myself? Am I eventually going to hire somebody? Who's going to be on the team? And what will your business look like in the future? And I call that the growth, that thing I had up here, the growth and exit strategy. And again, as somebody who evaluates a lot of business plans, I don't expect you to have all that right, but I want to see that you're thinking about it, especially the exit. Like I said, it really has a major impact on how you run your business, whether you plan on just running it to make income for yourself and your family, or whether you plan on, selling it to IBM eventually. I had to start my business differently than if I was just trying to run it to make money for myself. So, I'm going to pause here a second too, because there's a lot of, if you ever kind of look at the newspapers, you see a lot of organizations doing, how do you do a business plan? How do you do a business plan? And then where that comes from is, I don't care where you go looking for financial support for your business, whether it's your banker, whether it's somebody like us, your neighbor, or whatever, everybody's going to go, well, let me see your business plan. And as an entrepreneur, especially the extrovert entrepreneurs, they go, well, I just told you everything. I don't care. You got to have it in writing. We want to see folks who are getting ready to invest in your business or give you a loan for something, want to see that you've thought about this stuff, you've thought about your financials, you've got budgets, you've researched your market, you know what's going on, okay? It's not just an exercise, and I hear that a lot. It's making me do this. No, it's not. Without that, you're not getting any money, unless it's from your Aunt Edna, who just trusts you and is, Aunt Edna doesn't care if you blow her money, right? You're not going to get money from folks. So these business plans are real important. We do a whole class on this in the boot camp. It's a couple different sessions we do, but it's very important. You have to have a good business plan, okay? And it all starts with that business model. Also like to see milestones and validations, so you need to think about that for your business. Do you have your product or service defined? Do you really know what it looks like? What color is it? How big is it? What's it made of? That kind of stuff. How are you going to be funded? Do you have paying customers? Have you figured that out? Do you have milestones for that? Quality resources, quality partners. Are you profitable? These are all those milestones that you need. When are you going to be profitable if you're not profitable? And then the validation is, did I get there? Did I say I was going to be profitable in the first year, and did I make it? And then also, I think it's interesting to say, do you have the ability to replicate success through others? And I see that a lot with sole proprietors who have gotten to a certain point, and they say, I'd like my business to grow. Well, can you replicate what you've done without being you? That's what I always ask them. If you hire somebody, can they take the marketing you and go do it, or can they take the financial you and go do that? So the other thing about what I always talk about with milestones and validations is hold yourself accountable, or hold your group accountable through what I call project plans. And basically what I mean by a project plan is you say, here's what we're going to do, here's going to do it, and here's when we're going to do it by. Okay, so that's simple. And it's you make a list of them. That's a project plan. Okay. But as I mentioned before, and I'm saying this again, without these kind of milestones, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, an individual just getting started, aside from your advisors, it's the only thing you've got that'll push you along. Okay, just set those goals for yourself. All right. So I mentioned financials earlier, and I'm sure there was more than one of you said in your mind, what do you mean by financials? What should I have? What should I do? These are the 4 things that you really need to have and before you get your business started. Financial projections for your business. One is your assumptions, and what we mean by assumptions is if you say that you're going to charge $10 an hour for your service, what are your assumptions? How'd you come up with that? All right? Or if you're going to charge $100 for this pew, how'd you come up with that? Remember you came out of here, where'd it come from? So that's your assumptions. I'm going to be able to hire somebody for $30,000 a year to do this job. Based on what? Okay? So that's all, it goes back to all that research. Okay? So you have your assumptions. From your assumptions, you can build this other stuff. So the next thing we want to see is an income statement. All right? The income statement's what is basically our top line. It's, to simplify it, it's what costs to run your business subtracted from the revenue you got for your business. Very simple. Accountants make it much more complicated than that. That's a formula. Money coming in minus the money that went out. All right? A balance sheet is a little more complicated. When I got to balance sheets in my business, that's where I brought the accountants in. I was like, I went through accounting classes in college and I never really cared for balance sheets. They just didn't make sense to me. But basically what a balance sheet does is it says, here's what you owe versus here's what you own at any point in time. A balance sheet can change daily, but it's what you owe to what you own. And somebody like me can look at a balance sheet and go, your business has this kind of value, because it's the difference between what you owe and what you own. All right? It's a balance sheet. They call that the bottom line. And then the cash flow statement. And the cash flow statement shows how you manage your cash. Now, some people say, well, isn't that an income statement? Not necessarily. Okay? An income statement is again, kind of like a snapshot. You'll usually do one every month. What money did we make that month or bring in, and what money did we spend? Now, just to give you an example of how that might be different than a cash flow, let's say you have a business where people sign contracts. Once they sign a contract, they say, okay, I'm going to give you, that was my old business. We'll sign a contract to pay you $1 million over the next 3 years. Okay? Now, I can choose to book that revenue, quote, book that revenue any way I want to. I'm not actually getting it yet. But I can tell you the day they sign that contract, I'm putting in my income statement, boom, I'm getting money. All right? Now, I think we did it by months. We just took that whole contract and divided it up into different months. That's not necessarily how the cash flowed in, but that's how we accounted for that contract. Everybody follow me there? Okay? So that's an income statement. And income statements kind of get into those, what I call creative accounting areas as to how you want to book your income. And the same thing with the expenses on the other side of it. Sometimes you might not have actually paid for the expense yet, but you book it as an expense that month. So the cash flow statement is like, I say, think about your checkbook. That's your cash flow statement. When I actually write a check, when I actually deposit something, that's your cash flow. Okay? Now, I will argue with any accountant that probably the most important of all 4 of these, although you need to have all 4 of them, is the cash flow. Okay? Because businesses don't go out of business because they're not making money. They go out of businesses because they run out of cash. Okay? If you get down to the end of the month and you can't make your payroll, and you've got 10 employees you're counting on, they're probably going to leave and your business dies. Or you can't make your banknote payment, or whatever it is, those important, you can't pay the electric bill. whatever those things are, if you don't have the cash to pay them, that's what's going to make you go out of business. I always, and things are starting to turn around in the auto industry now, but I used to use GM as an example. GM for years and years was losing money. Did they close the doors? No, because they knew how to finance their business. They kept, they knew how to watch cash flow. So they always made sure they had money to make payroll and buy new parts and all that kind of stuff till they eventually became profitable. And now they're starting to show some profits. But the cash flow statement is certainly king. Okay, so I think I kind of went through all that. Most companies don't go out of business because they're unprofitable. It's because they run out of cash. Okay, we're moving along real nicely here. So the next thing I want to touch on, because I get this question a lot, is what are the trends in entrepreneurship or businesses starting up? And not that I'm suggesting that any of these should change your mind about what you're doing or you should jump into something like this.